his way of protesting against himself. It was his way of purging the memory of recent events whilst needing the security of familiarity. It was the sudden speed of the movement that caught the extremity of his peripheral vision, waking his brain from the shadows of the recent past. The hawk swooped diagonally from high to low across the stone facade of the church building before crashing into its victim, an unsuspecting pigeon that had just left the security of a high ledge. There was a natural explosion, resulting in myriad loose grey and white feathers that cascaded like unwanted confetti in front of the church and onto the steps. The cruelty of nature made Cyril focus on the fine, fluttering feathers, each holding his attention until they all came to rest. As the final feather fell, his memory started to replay the last few difficult months. He'd never lost a colleague before. His mind invoked the once significant and unwelcome receipt of a white feather, and he shuddered. He knew everyone had done what was humanly possible. No one had stood back. There was only bravery and professionalism. But that hadn't been enough. He had played the final incidents of the case over and over again, and each time a small part of him crumbled and died. Chapter 1. June 2016. The breathing increased to accompany the ethereal moans and animalistic grunts that grew louder as the firm hips pounded frantically against the soft flesh of the folded female, enthusiastically bent and stretched over the wooden table. She wore nothing apart from a Venetian mask, decorated with curled playing cards forming a crown and an elaborate collar, the gilded lips preserved in a permanent smile. Her long fingers curled and grasped at the far edge of the tabletop, her back slightly arched to allow maximum penetration. Oil or perspiration glistened along the length of her body, reflecting the bright lights from above. Suddenly the thrusting stopped. A hand leaned forward and grasped her neck before pulling her upright to her feet. Quickly, strong hands dropped to her shoulders before urgently guiding her body round, whilst at the same time pushing her down to her knees. One hand went swiftly to remove the mask, and obediently she opened her mouth. The neon light on the tripod-held camera continued to blink bright blue. Chapter 2. Late September 2016. It was a fitting end to a miserable day as Mother Nature forced fine needles of icy rain into the exposed flesh of Cyril Bennett's neck. He quickened his pace as he turned down Bedford Street, but here the wind seemed even more determined to aggravate, whipping the biting rain more strongly as it funneled its full force between the buildings. Feeling beaten into submission, he stopped before slipping the auction house catalogue he had just collected inside his overcoat. He defiantly turned up his coat collar before glancing at the clock on the Rogers Almshouse's tower. He checked his watch, shook his wrist, and checked the watch again. It was 4:30, and already the evening was drawing in, helped by the intensity of the low, smothering overcast sky. Winter's just round the corner, he thought. How he loathed the impending dark winter days, and with them the increased criminality that always seemed to go hand in protective glove. Cyril's eyes reviewed the vertical stone tower from the clock before they came to rest on the carved bust of the building's benefactor, a long-dead Bradford merchant, George Rogers. The green-tinged sculpted features stared blindly back, oblivious to the forces the weather had thrown over many years. Cyril's eyes fell further until they reached the intricately carved stonework depicting a wicker beehive. It had always been a symbol of industry for Rogers, an industry that had been the source of his considerable wealth. Further chills ran down the nape of Cyril's neck, but this time it was not the cold. It was the image. It brought to mind a confusing and distasteful police investigation.